How's it going, everyone? And welcome back to the Playmakers Corner podcast. I'm here going to talk about another top 5. It's the class of 2025 edge rushers. Now, we're going to go in and we used a new format this year. Our overall grades and all that going out of 10 and some going out of categories of 5 to break down a player to an even closer percentage than any time before today. Looking at that, we are looking at frame, versatility, gap, edge, run discipline, hit power, and the ability to strip, agility and hip mobility in their first step. Those are out of 10. Out of 5, we have finesse power rushing, power rushing, finesse run block shedding, power run block shedding, form tackle, straight line speed, pass coverage, and play recognition. Now, looking at this, all of these different things lead into a few different things we have going on here. But with that being said, that is our new categories for our top 5 evaluations. And we will be now moving on straight to our number 5 pass rushing edge rusher from the class of 2025 is Tamario Walter out of Eagle Crest High School. Now, looking at this guy, he's pretty much all you can ask for, 6'2", 220. I'm going to jump straight into what Simon has to say about him, saying he is a finesse player off the edge who has the hand strength and power to go against the next level players. He uses speed efficiently against tackles and doesn't give up much ground when doing so. My biggest critique for him is he continues to get stronger and mix in power rushing moves in order to keep those tackles honest. He probably also played a stand at linebacker, but I think he has a pass rush talent that could be developed into an FCS rotational player. I agree with, Simon here. I think that Walter can definitely be a pass rush guy on the next level. Coming off the edge, maybe more of like that, edge rushing type of a Von Miller style where he's only doing there, not in there for running. He's mainly going for pass rush. Looking at Kodey has to say a great edge rusher who has awesome finesse and body control. His agility, athleticism, and speed makes him extremely dangerous and a problem for an opposing tackles. He definitely needs to build up and bulk up and add some power to his frame in a bag with a lot more dangerous or use the pass rush defense game. He definitely gives off Von Miller vibes and could walk down 4-3 standoff edge versatility, 3-4 rusher that I could see playing time as soon as his second year in third down situations. I agree. I think second year this guy will make a difference. I think they redshirt him first year. Let's look at the scores that we gave him. Kodey and I agree to a T on this guy, both giving him a 79. The next guy on that is a 79.75 from Simon. So we're all pretty close in that 79 range. It gives him a 79.25 cumulative. And I think that this is a pretty good fit for him. Looking at him, thinking that out of Eagle Crest, he could probably be a dominant D2 guy. 1 year redshirting wouldn't hurt, but he could play at D2 right now. Looking into the D1 range, I think he could play at a low FCS school for sure. That being said, I don't know how efficiently they would use him in the first year, but the second year is something that I could definitely see from him. Looking at how his recruiting is going, I see that he has a couple camp invites here and a lot of different things like statistics and stuff like that. So nothing quite on the board yet, but it's soon to come. Again, our number 5 pass rusher in the class of 2025, Tamario Walter out of Eagle Crest High School, 6'2", 220. Now let's go ahead and break into our number 4 edge rusher on the class of 2025, an MHP Mile High Prep. If you don't know what MHP is, guy, Vincent Vigil. All of us, Kodey, Simon, and I got to see him a few times this year, and I mean, he's a very dominant pass rusher. I'm going to start this time by just talking about our overall scores for him. Simon gave him a 79.25. I gave him a 78. Then Kodey went ahead and gave him an 80.7, giving him a cumulative score of a 79.31, which is literally point 0.6 above our last guy, Tamario Walter, being a 79.25 to a 79.31. Now I'm going to start with what I have to say about him. I said, he's an MHP guy that we got to see dominate against out-of-state talent. He got it done on all the levels, and I think that he is somebody that could be very effective against most tackles on almost any level. I think he is a D2 guy through and through. The main reason I think that he's D2 is the fact that he needs probably about a year of development before I would put him at a D1. But I think that if he did go D1 off the rip, he would be able to, red shirt and take it. But I think he could be effective in the D2. Now, all of his offers as of now are D2, just so that to be said. Looking at what Kodey has to say about him, gets a good burst off the edge, always swatting at the ball, and when he goes for a sack, maybe a little high in tackling, great play recognition, and could be viable reading and reacting to a few plays he manages. Incredibly fast get off. He probably more of a defensive end with a third down setup most of the time. Can slide inside and still make plays and get a push. I can't agree more with all of the stuff Kodey has said on this. He says, like most guys, he's a high tackler but versatile and size across in the front. With his MHP work against national comp shows promise. I think that is exactly what I'm saying here is he shows a lot of promise, and it comes out of that Mile High Prep just because he is, getting to face those guys. That's kind of that next level for him. Simon says that I got to see him live for MHP and their first game versus Fountain Fort Carson. And he is a very underrated prospect. He is 6'2", 260 playing off the edge, and he moves very well for his size. If he is to play edge on the next level, I think he needs to lean up a bit, to be honest. At that weight he is now, he's considered lean for a DT. He can play DT, and I think he has the strength to do so and develop into a great interior defensive lineman. Off the edge, he's a straight power rusher with a high IQ who knows how to play positioning himself to make plays. I'd like for him to refine his finesse moves and make him slippery, but that is honestly nitpicking. A D2 could be a good fit for him to do and get playing time, and then I could definitely see him transferring to a more refined product. Either way, he's a strong playmaker who belongs on the college scene. Again, I have to agree. Looking at some of my scores for, Vincent here, 8.5 frame, 8.3 versatility, 4 in both finesse and power rush moves, 8.4 in edge gap responsibility, and 8.2 in hit and strip power. His first step, I gave him a little bit of a ding on here with a 6.9. I gave him a 3 in straight line and in pass coverage. Those are things that I think he needs to work on, and working on towards that next level, he would be able to do that fairly easily, in my opinion, as long as he, took the time to refine his game. Like I said, looking into his recruiting, he has all D2 offers at the moment, and as we said on here already, we think D2 is a great spot for him. Transferring out as a more refined product, as Simon said, would be immense for this guy. I think that he needs to be in college and he needs to be playing at the next level and will be dominant at the next level after some just minor tweaking to his game. Again, we are talking about the number 4 pass rusher in the class of 2025, 5. This is Vincent Vigil out of Arvada West High School, and I think that's all I really can say about this guy. Coming up next is our number 3. Now let's hop into it talking about our next guy out of Cherry Creek, the number 3 edge rusher in the class of 2025, Ashton Shepherdson, 6'1", 215 pounds. I want to hop straight into what Kodey has to say about this guy. That vert on the opening interception is wild. He has a solid pass coverage and can be a traditional linebacker as well. Great form tackler, good speed, crushing the QB. Oh my gosh. I think he's talking about that like live as he's watching the film, the oh my gosh part. Love his zone discipline and ball instincts. This is a really complete player. Not world-breaking power, but is enough to hold his own ground. That'll do. Bro loves contact and gets his. Absolutely cannot be handled by a receiver. I have to agree 100% with Kodey. When he goes out into coverage, he could flatten a receiver. The dude has enough strength to handle receivers. Tight ends would be a little bit harder for him, them being a little bit bigger. Looking into Ashton Shepherdson for me, I say he's a linebacker that plays edge in my opinion. He will be moved there at the next level. He is a good player that can hold the edge very well. He needs to work on his form tackling and hit power. I think that his form tackling is good, but it could be great. And I think that his hit power is more that he stops driving his feet after point of attack. That being said, I do think as a linebacker, he could be an elite talent. And I mean, like looking at him as a whole, I didn't have much that I could really say. Looking at power, pass rush is 3.4. That comes with strength. Power run block shedding is 3.7. Those are things I think he needs to work on. Hit power, I gave a 7.9, which if you think about it as a whole, that's still not bad at all. And form tackling is a 3.5, which is not bad at all. But his versatility being a 8.2, I gave his frame a 7.3. I think he needs to gain a little weight if he stays at this spot in the next level. Agility is an 8.5. First step is an 8.1. 4.2 on straight line speed. 4.0 on a pass coverage. Now, jumping over to Simon, he has similar stats here. Versatility is an 8.5. Power or finesse pass is the 4.1. The 3.5 is the power pass rush. Finesse pass blocking, block shedding, is 4.2. He's pretty similar on all of his scores going into Ashton Shepherdson's game. I think that Ashton Shepherdson does a very, very, very good job overall watching him live this year. I got to see him 3 separate times, and I think that he truly does a very good job doing exactly what Dave Logan asks him to do over there, and that's cover, step up and make plays, hold the edge, don't let anybody outside, and then in long situations when he's rushing, he is a force to be reckoned with. Looking at his overall scores, we have Simon's grade of an 81.2. I gave him a 79.4, and Kodey gave him an 82.45, giving him a cumulative score of 81.016 repeating. Now, that is kind of how it works when it comes to Ashton Shepherdson. We think that his game is very efficient, and we think that he is a next-level player. With that being said, I personally think he's a D2 guy, and that is shown in his offers. All his offers at this point are D2. I think that if he goes D2, he could be a rotational guy year 1, maybe a redshirt guy if he wanted to save a year of availability, but a good rotational guy year 1, move from there, go to that, refine his game, get a little bit stronger, maybe move to linebacker like I said. Once he's ready, maybe 1 or 2 years from now, he transfers to a D1, and then he gives them hell because he's going to be one heck of a player at the next level. Now, Simon thinks the same thing, D2 guy definitely, and I think that that's something that we can all kind of agree on. And there you have it. That's our number 3 edge rusher, our halfway point in this episode. of the class of 2025 coming out of Cherry Creek High School, Ashton Shepherdson. Now coming up, we're going to go into our number 2 guy. Now I'm going to go ahead and talk about our number 2 pass rusher in the class of 2025, and that is the 6'3", 225-pound stud, Jace Philman. And I mean, he's Regis Jesuits, stud over there on the edge. Going straight into some statistics, Simon gave him an 8.3 in frame and a 9 in versatility. That's key here. An 8.6 in edge gap discipline, an 8.8 in hip mobility, an 8.7 in first step, and a 4.3 in straight line speed. Now, some of the things that Simon shows that he might need to work on just out of the numbers alone is his power pass rush and his pass coverage. Looking straight into what I have to say about this guy is he's a very fast off the edge and a great athlete. He can work on his hip power and pass rushing, or power pass rushing, but he is overall a very great pass rusher. I think that this guy could play D1 ball. That's just plain and simple. Overall score for him, is an 81.55. I can tell the grades here in just a second on that. Going back to it, D1 all the way. I think that he could play on that next level at a D1, and he could kill somebody on that D1. That's how it's going to work. But with looking at just statistics overall, Kodey gave him an 82.35, 81.6 from Simon, 80.7 from me, 81.55 repeating is his overall score. Looking at what Kodey has to say about Jace Philman is Jace's versatility is what makes such a diamond to find. He is a solid tight end, but he is a great speed and first step to win inside or out in the pass rush game. He is one of the better tacklers on this list and is a good combo in finesse and power, but just needs to be more disciplined to improve his mental game. He has what it takes to make an impact on the D1 level, and I think athletically, you got to take a flyer on him, coach up the mental side, and take a few years of consistent college ball. Now, I agree. If you use consistency and just keep him working on the mental side of his game, he might be the most lights out player that you could get. He's kind of a steal when it comes to, finding him at that level and making him go D1. A low level FCS is something that he would probably strive to become and be able to play in right away. I think that I would redshirt him, but I'm a fan of redshirting almost anybody just to get them ready for college, both in the classroom and out of the classroom. I think that if you didn't want to redshirt him, that's not a bad thing. He is a force to be reckoned with. Now, let's go ahead and just look at some of the things that he has on his Twitter, looking at some offers. He says, actually, you know what? As of this episode, on 10/11, he did commit to play at the School of Mines. That is a steal for the School of Mines. He is a dog. That's a D1 guy. He's going to go D2. And like I said, he could play easily day one on a D2 field. That's a steal. Great job, School of Mines, being one of Colorado's best inside recruiters, them and CSUP. Shout out both of them. They recruit heavily from the state of Colorado, and we have nothing but respect for them here at the pod. With that being said, looking overall, he's our number 2 guy for a reason. That's Jace Philman out of Regis Jesuit High School, the Colorado School of Mines commit. Congrats on number 2. Coming up next, we'll have number 1. Now, before I get into our number 1 edge rusher in this class, I'm going to do a few honorable mentions of people that barely missed this list. Those guys being Keegan Pereira, Marcus Adams, Justice Dickerson, Jack Francis, Aiden Vincent. There's a lot more that we have taken. Those are just a few that I want to shout out. Another one I want to shout out is Kai Shelton, Will Applegate, Zion Suavo, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, and Grayson McPherson. All of these guys, did very good, and everything was really, really close. Going over this, you'll see I'm going to go over their overall scores again, starting from 5-2, and then jump into our number one edge rusher. So, with that being said, number 5 being Tamario Walter with a 79.25 cumulative. Going to Vincent Vigil at 79.32. Then jumping to Ashton Shepardson at an 81.01. Then Jace Thillman at an 81.55. Each one of them, showed different things that just put them just a hair above the rest. This next guy did the same, coming in with an 82.25, being our number one edge rusher in the class of 2025 is none other than DJ Crow out of Denver East. Now, I got to say this because Simon put it right here in his, in his notes for him, is there is never a doubt that he is one of the most talented and physically gifted players in the class coming off the edge. He's got the prototype frame and athleticism to match. While his power isn't the best, but it's decent enough to get it done. But in his speed that separates him from others, it's not every day you see a defensive end return a kick to the house. For DJ, it was all speed on that return, and that's the kind of elite athleticism that he brings to a defense. Throw in that he's pretty polished and finesse pass block shedding, and you got a good, solid D1 guy. He needs to get bigger, but on an off-season development, maybe a redshirt year, they could give you that. But his grades are bad, and he is most likely slung it out in a JUCO or D2 until they improve. If he does that and continues to develop, I have no doubts that he will be in a D1 roster and in the rotation as well. I want to say it first and foremost. I think that if he could get his grades up, he could play D1 ball and be a rotational guy year one. That's just plain and simple. He's got the size, the speed. He's got everything you need. And I think that as a whole, he is a whole package of a player. He is fast, strong, great block shedder. He has good hip mobility, hip power, and strength. A D1 athlete, but sadly will go D2 because of grades. I think that right now most of his recruiting is D2, and I think that's mainly because of grades, and they're going to get a steal of a D2 player. That's how it's going to be, and I think that he could easily rotate out after a year, maybe two, and just focus on school and focus on developing as a player and go play at that next level, being D1 out of the transfer portal here soon. Kodey says that this dude is so legit. He might be the most underrated prospect in the state and does whatever he wants on any given play. He is a great blend of power and finesse with the stopping power of keeping guards and tackles in place during the run game. But he has a good enough first step speed and agility to still get to the QB in the pass rush. He is a sound tackler, but focuses very well on getting strips and turnovers. He's a turnover forcing machine with a very little slowing him down. His pass coverage and discipline are a little inconsistent, but the potential is definitely there with his athleticism and physicality. Taking a kickoff to the house is crazy work as an edge player. That'll do for straight line speed overall. His jump in GPA is huge. That being said, I think his jump was like a 2.2 to a 2.6, which, yes, he's taking it seriously, and he is making that next step. I think that overall, all of his stuff is going to make him a D2 guy. But Kodey does say overall his jump in GPA is huge, but he might keep hitting the books for a year in college to open up more doors to show the D1 upside as he gets bigger and stronger and focuses on college guys and challenging him more, since he was unchallenged, I feel, through his high school career for the most part. I'm very excited to see where his career goes and would love to do an interview with him. If you're listening to this, DJ, come on to the show, hit us up. We will do an interview with you. Kodey would love to, get you on the pod and, shout you out and help you out in any way we can. Looking at everything, I think that DJ Crow is a solid guy, an 82.25 overall, 81.95 from Simon, 81.1 from me, and an 83.7 from Kodey. Looking at some of Kodey's grades, some of his highest grades being frame, 8.6, edge at 8, 8.7 hip mobility, hip power at an 8.5, and an 8.6 in first step. His straight line speed being a 4.5 at edge rusher is nuts, because if you put that onto the 10-point scale, that's basically giving him a 9, meaning this dude is fast. He said the one thing he can work on is his pass coverage with a 3 and his versatility with the 7.8. I think that would come more if he was able to pass cover just a little bit better. Looking at some of my stats for him, I gave him the same pass coverage grade and pretty similar grades for all of them. I think that his power pass rush was a 3.9 for me, which is a little lower than other guys. I gave his versatility a 7, his frame an 8.6, because 6'4", 230, who couldn't want that at the edge? 4.5 in straight line speed, again, I gave him that. Play recognition is a 4.3. His hit and strip is 8.6, and his agility and hip mobility is an 8.5. All around one of the most solid pass rushers we've seen in the last couple years. Looking at Simon, 8.6 versatility is a 7, 8.6 on frame, 4.3, 4, 4.3, 4 in all types of pass rushing, whether it be power or finesse. That shows the versatility in his game. Pass coverage was a 3, just like everyone else, and play recognition was a 4.35. 8.5 on hip power, 8.7 on hip mobility, and his first step was an 8.5. Looking at DJ Crow coming out of Denver East, he's a steal of a D2 player at the moment, but he will move to the D1 level as long as he can keep focused on school and focus on that next step. So with that being said, I'm going to go through the list one more time. Our number 5 guy, Tamario Walter. Our number 2 guy, Vincent Vigil. Number 3, Ashton Shepardson. Jace Philman is our number 2, and none other than DJ Crow out of Denver East High School being our number 1 edge rusher in the class of 2025. You're listening to the Playmakers Corner podcast. Thank you so much. Peace.
And of course, be sure to stay listening to all of our top 5 series. We've covered basically every single position, with the last one being quarterbacks that comes out on Friday here. But go ahead and double back and see what we had to say about every other position for this senior class in Colorado. This is one that we kind of got to see from start to finish for a lot of these players from their freshman year when we first started going out to games and whatnot. So, lots of interesting stories. The quarterback episode that's coming up is a lot of fun. It's actually one that Coach V and I recorded together. It's the only one that we recorded together this season. But yeah, for tons of analysis, be sure to find us anywhere you listen to podcasts, whether that's Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Amazon has podcasts now. We're also on YouTube. On any of those platforms, please make sure that you are following, subscribing, liking, turning on notifications so you know whenever we have episodes coming out, and get to see all the new stuff that we have coming out, as well as we kind of transition as far as our coverage in season and convert a little bit more to the college flag football scene. But that, amongst the highlights that we want to share with y'all, and just spotlighting athletes in our mission that we continue to enhance and build off of, is very easy to keep track of and follow on social media. We are on Instagram, Facebook, Playmakers Corner on both of those. For the time being, we're on TikTok, probably until the end of the week, at Playmakers Corner. We are also on Twitter/X at Playmaker Corner here, where we, repost athletes in their highlight reels. We post on stories. We help share, these photographers and their work, and, these editors that they make and all that stuff, as well as our own content, all on those social media. So please be sure to follow us. Shout out to Mason for running this episode, talking about this awesome edge rusher class. Please double back to the other top 5s where Mason's opinions are included on those, and stay tuned for the next one of quarterback, where, we read his opinions. But Coach V, Mason, fantastic job on this top 5 series. It's been so awesome to build these rubrics with you guys and evaluate these players. So, Colorado, I should say, Colorado athletes, keep being studs and worth covering. And yeah, we'll catch you on the flip. Peace.